Harry, are there any studies that show us fruit is normal consumption is bad for health? Aren't all the fructose studies on extremely high consumption? Look, there are. Um, I basically go from the principle that we've got good research showing that fructose is more glycating 7 times at least. Some more recent studies say they've got better data because of the sensitivity of their sense of their equipment to sense and better calculate glycation of proteins in the body from biopsies, and they tend to argue that it could be as high as 10, and it varies. It's a more variable number rather than that fixed 7. So 7 plus, you could say. Um, I think that there's probably some truth in that regard, and that's in comparison to glucose. That's, it's probably, on average 8. So it would be the equivalent of somebody having 100 grams of fructose, similar to, having like 800 um, grams of glucose. So that's quite a bit. We're talking about, that's well over, when we're talking about kilocalories, obviously we're not a bomb calorimeter, but when we're talking about kilocalories, that is very high, well over 3,000. So there's quite a lot of energy coming in that regard. And that's the equivalent type of glycating effect that would have in that regard. So the research is quite clear that it does have a glycating effect, but the question of how glycating between the 7 and 10, it depends on a lot of factors. So I will say ranges between 7 and 10 based on research. It's probably averaging about 8 plus, and that's all I can say about that part in that regard about fructose. The other deleterious part of fructose, which most people, well, except me, talk about, is the deuterium content. Plants concentrate deuterium in fruit in particular. So fruit is much higher in deuterium than even, things like raw sugar or things like, it depends on the fruit as well. It can actually be anywhere between the same as raw sugar or worse in terms of deuterium content. And then so it varies. As I said to one person as a joke type thing, if they put a gun to my head and they said, eat the fruit or eat the equivalent amount in raw sugar, I'd eat the raw sugar. I'm not kidding you, because it's going to be less anti-nutrients as well. Because both are, when it comes to nutrition, they've got very little anyway. So, and then I just do a fast for 24 hours and clear it out of my system, a dry, so. But what I'm trying to get at and trying to make people understand is that there is that angle as well. It's high deuterium. Obviously not as high as seed oils. That's, like double the safe zone of 130 parts per million. But still, it's in the 150 to 60 mark parts per million. So, yes. So it's not as good. Let's put it that way. And it's quite costly. Bloody hell, I mean, you get fruit out of season, you're paying import, it's coming from across the sea,